People who woke up in the future, their memory has erased dozens of years of their life. Due to the rare form of amnesia, Naomi Jacobs and Kim DeNicola forgot the decades of their lives. From their point of view, they suddenly found themselves in the future and were able to look from the outside at the changed world and themselves many years later. Kim didn't know how she ended up in the hospital. On the eve of high school, there were final exams. She remembered how she left school and headed for her car. And nothing more. Perhaps an accident has occurred. If so, everything was fine, because there was no pain. The nurse noticed that Kim woke up and spoke to her.
Do you know what year it is?
The question was part of a neurological test for unconscious patients. Kim answered politely.
Yes, ma'am. It's 1980 now. The world is crazy about the Rubik's Cube. Michael Jackson and Blondie are played on the radio. Darth Vader explains to Luke Skywalker who his father is.
Kim was 18 years old. She was finishing school. A worried nurse asked another standard question.
Who is the president now?
Ronald Reagan.
In November, the former actor defeated Democrat Jimmy Carter, who had been at the head of the country since 1977. However, Reagan will take his possession into the rights only next year, after the inauguration in January. The answer didn't at all have the effect that the girl was counting on. The nurse left and returned with an unfamiliar old man. He turned to Kim as if he knew her well, although she definitely saw him for the first time. No one ever explained to her what happened. Kim said,
I felt completely lost. I kept waiting and waiting for when mom and dad appear. When you're 18, it usually does. But they did not come.
In the restroom, Kim looked in the mirror. She was horrified.
There wasn't the girl I remembered. A 56-year-old woman was looking at me.
It was the beginning of the awakening. She knew that almost 40 years have passed since school exams for her last memory. The unfamiliar old man was her husband. They had children and even grandchildren. She didn't remember them at all, and her parents died. According to the stories of relatives and friends, Kim DeNicola restored the last events before the loss of memory. In October 2018, she was returning from a weekly event at her Catholic church. When she walked down the street, her eyes grew dim from a terrible headache. The woman called her husband.
He advised not to drive, but to ask someone from the event to take me to the hospital.
On the way, she lost consciousness. Therefore, they lost her memory of everything that happened after 1980. Doctors believe that the woman experienced transient global amnesia, but haven't yet been able to understand the cause of the sickness.
No one can say exactly what happened. It could be a microstroke that cannot be seen, or a small traumatic brain injury. It could have been a reaction to the muscle pain medication I was taking the night before the incident.
People lost memory in different ways. Those who don't remember their name, past or other people, suffer from retrograde amnesia. Because of this disease, access to information about previous events is lost, but otherwise, the memory function is not disturbed. The story of Naomi Jacobs from the United Kingdom, who experienced transient global amnesia in 2008, is reminiscent of this case of Kim DeNicola. One day, she woke up with complete confidence that she was 15 years old. 17 years younger than in reality.
I remember looking at myself in the mirror and screaming. From the point of view of a 15-year-old girl, I saw the horror. Who is this aging woman with wrinkles, spots and bags under her eyes?
Jacobs comparing her experience to time travel. Everything was new to her, the world and her own life. But she forgot only 17 years. Naomi Jacobs was transported into the future for as much as 38 years.
It was very interesting to see how much is different now than it was in the 1980s, how much has changed. I didn't know who Donald Trump was. I didn't know who Barack Obama or Bill Clinton were.
The only computer she saw in 1980 was the computer in the school library.
It was a big white box that you had to insert a floppy disk into to write information. The last TV I remember was a box on the floor. To change the channel, you had to get up and walk up to it. And now our TV is hanging on the wall. It is very narrow and thin. When you watch it, you have completely different sensations.
She liked the video chat on her phone. Social networks cause bewilderment. She thinks there are a lot of unnecessary disputes there, and television has become better. But the dominance of advertising spoils everything. Most of all, Jacobs was shocked by the meeting with herself. When she was younger, she didn't doubt that she would do something creative. Perhaps she will become a journalist and travel all over the world.
At 15, you don't know who you will be at 32. When I woke up in the future, I wanted to say, wait, everything is not at all the way I wanted. I turned out to be a single mother who lives with a cat in a tiny apartment and drives an old car. I didn't have a job. I studied to be a psychologist and lived on handouts from the state. How could this happen? I was terribly disappointed.
At first, Jacobs didn't want to go to the doctors. It seemed to her that the next day she would wake up in the past and everything would be fine. When this didn't happen, the woman took out a diary and she had kept for almost 20 years and began to read. There were found the answers to all her questions. For Kim Nicola, the diary replaced a box of old photos.
This is my brother, Johnny. These are my 3 stepchildren. This is my oldest son, his wife, and our 3 grandchildren. Lots of pictures of times after 1980 that I don't remember. Like my cousins had 3 children. Things that mom and daddy have done after 1980.
I'm slowly learning to connect names and faces, learning to live in 2019.
Her amnesia has not gone away for 3 months, and doctors do not rule out that her memory is lost forever. In the video, which was published by the agency SWNS, the woman looks at old pictures with trembling hands.
There are things that we did with my mom and dad after 1980 and which I don't remember. For example, trips to Colorado and something like that. Here I am on Christmas Day 1981, just a year after my last memory. Meeting of all relatives in Texas. I was there, but I don't remember anything. Many family photos. There are many memories that will never return to me.
Naomi Jacobs was lucky. Her memory recovered after 7 weeks. When she saw herself from the outside, she decided to start a new life.
It's different now. When I wake up, I focus on what is really important. I try to do something at least once a day that makes me enjoy being myself. I used to be surrounded by people who made me feel bad about myself. After amnesia, I realized that I didn't need to think that way. This became the foundation on which I built my life today.
Anterograde amnesia deprives people of the ability to create new memories. They remember everything that happened to them before the illness, but they forget about what happened yesterday, an hour, or even a minute ago. The main character of the film Memento, shot by Christopher Nolan in 2000, suffered from such a disease. The transient global amnesia that afflicted Kim Nicola has features of both retrograde and anterograde amnesia. A person doesn't forget who he is and doesn't lose his skills, for example, the ability to drive a car, but loses the memory of the past and, for sometimes, loses the ability to create new memories. Fortunately, not forever. In most cases, transient global amnesia resolves in a few hours or days, less often weeks. Everything ends well. In 2012, Dutch writer Dan Herman van Boer's first transient global amnesia. The memory loss was so short-lived that most seems like a curiosity.
Friends, relatives, and former lovers dropped in all day to tell me about what they thought was part of my life. I listened, nodded, and instantly forgot their words. Gradually I calmed down, and all my memories returned to me. I was told that I did not have a stroke, And there are no signs of permanent brain damage either. According to the doctors, I was in great shape,